Generally, football clubs deploy one of these two managerial models. The first one is the obvious one, manager and assistant manager. Another one that's been coming in more recently is where you've got a director of football who takes care of all the transfers and whatever, and then you have got a head coach or manager underneath him. But there's one that you don't see very often, and we're going to be looking as to why this is the case, and that is joint managers. So when a club has joint managers, they basically have two guys that are at the same level in terms of stature at the football club, and this can be a good thing in some situations and it can be a bad thing, and we're going to be looking at why that is in this video. But first of all, I want to say that this video is kindly sponsored by the good guys over at OneFootball. This is the first time on this channel that I've promoted another company, but I wanted to make sure that the first one was going to be one that is something that you guys would really like, and for me, OneFootball is a really good app. There are some good features for non-league, particularly the National League. In the National League, you can go on before a game and predict who's going to win, compare that against other people using the app to see who has predicted which team to win the most, as well as much more. So yeah, link is in the top line of the description to go and check that out. But anyway, let's get straight on with the video. So the manager and assistant manager model works generally like this. So the manager and assistant manager will share a lot of the managerial roles. The manager will generally pick the team. Sometimes the assistant manager is put in charge of transfers, but that's not always the case. The manager is usually like a man manager, so they've got to go and make sure their players are happy and make sure that they're all not getting big time. But yeah, this can vary. There's different things that happen in different manager and assistant manager relationships. But one key thing is that the manager is pretty much always paid more than the assistant manager because they're seen as having more authority, more control over what goes on. However, if a director of football is being brought in at this point, the director of football usually is in charge of transfers, sometimes in charge of man management, and then you either have a manager or a head coach below them, and that person is going to do a lot of the coaching, for example, but they're not going to have a huge amount of control over transfers. They might have a say, but usually that director of football is going to be in charge of who comes in, who goes out, contract negotiations, and that sort of thing. But when a club has joint managers, it's something slightly different. You could say it is very similar to when you have a manager and assistant manager. These joint managers could naturally put one of them in charge of certain things such as the team selection. You could essentially say that it is a manager and assistant manager, but in terms of stature, in terms of authority, they are on the same level, which, as I said, can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing in different situations. It can be a good thing because the two guys, neither one is talking down to the other one in situations where one could have a final say. It means that they have to confer, they have to agree on things before big decisions are made. But for the same reason, that could be a negative because these two guys could disagree massively on a certain topic. Now, this could have detrimental effects to the overall working relationship because if they're disagreeing on things but they are at the same level in terms of stature, no one could have a final say. And if whatever decision they go with, if there's a disagreement, then it could lead to a bit of awkwardness between that management team. And that's kind of proved by the fact that there are no joint managers currently working in the Premier League or Football League or in the National League. In fact, Tier 6 is where you find the first lot of joint managers in the Football League pyramid, or at least at the highest level that is. And the first one is one that a lot of you guys will know about, and that is Anthony Johnson and Bernard Morley, the joint managers currently at Chester FC. Previously, they were the joint managers at Salford for 4 seasons, getting 3 promotions out of 4 seasons to get the team from the 8th tier up to the 5th tier. Prior to that, they were at Ramsbottom, and they got promotion in their final full season there. So overall, they've actually got 4 promotions in 5 seasons, which, as a managerial record, that is unbelievable. But despite that success, they were actually still sacked at the end of the 17-18 season, despite leading Salford to the title of the National League North. According to the Daily Mail, one of the reasons that they left was due to their pay and bonuses, and what this meant was they both wanted wages that were for a manager, but Salford didn't want to pay that. They only had a managerial budget, which is what they'd usually pay on paying for a manager and an assistant manager. So for example, if they've got a budget of 60,000 which they want to spend on a manager and assistant manager, then they might pay the manager 40,000 and the assistant 20,000, for example. Whereas both of these guys are both looking to get that 40,000 salary, which is going to be above their budget. But the reason that they were successful was because they had such a good working relationship. They had a very brash style, I think it's fair to say, and it's no surprise that they were quickly snapped up by Chester, and Chester are up at the top end of the National League North currently. With Johnson and Morley, it's a case they've worked together for such a long time as joint managers. It would be strange for them as a duo to change into a manager and assistant manager. Another managerial duo in the National League North is the managerial duo at Guiseley, and that is Marcus Bignett and Russ O'Neill. Now, Marcus Bignett has been very successful in the past. He got Solihull to the National League North title, but he's never worked in a managerial duo. To put two managers that have never worked together, they've both been first team managers in the past. And the third example is at Slough Town. Neil Baker and John Underwood have been in charge there for 5 seasons, getting 2 promotions in that time. There's not been a huge amount of joint managers over the years. There was in the Premier League back in 1998. Gerard Houllier and Roy Evans took charge of Liverpool as joint managers at the time. It was a bold move. However, after a short period, Gerard Houllier ended up just taking the managerial job on his own, and Gerard Houllier went on to have massive success with the club. But going back to talk about Guiseley, with them creating this new joint managers duo this season, is it a sign that maybe joint managers could be coming back into football? Is it something that could happen more and more over the next few years because of the director of football and head coach / manager's role being there as well? There's so many different models that football clubs are deploying. Will we see something totally new model coming in the next few years? We will see. What do you think of this whole thing? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you're new around here, remember to hit that like button. Can we get to 400 likes on this video? That would be awesome. Also, hit subscribe. We've got a big goal now. I've created a new goal of getting to 15,000 subscribers by the end of the season. So that's in like early May. If we can get there, that would be absolutely awesome. So yeah, click that subscribe button if you want to try and help me get there. But yes, I hope to see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.